Captain Elias Holt stood before the holographic display, watching as the last of his communication drones vanished into the vastness of space. The war room of Earth's United Space Command was silent, except for the low hum of the technology surrounding him. His crew, a diverse group of Earth's finest, stood at their stations, their faces a mixture of determination and anxiety. "Transmission complete, Captain," Lieutenant Garcia reported, her eyes never leaving her console. "The Krylaxi have received our message." "Thank you, Lieutenant. Keep monitoring for any reply," Elias responded, his voice steady. He turned to his executive officer, Commander Raj Patel, who was examining tactical displays. "Raj, what's the status on our fleet deployment?" Patel adjusted his glasses, tapping on the display to bring up a strategic map. "The fleet is in position across critical sectors. We're ready to enforce the blockade as soon as you give the word, Captain." Elias nodded, his gaze returning to the star map, where hundreds of tiny lights represented the might of Earth's spaceborne defenses. "We can't afford any mistakes. If the Krylaxi think we're bluffing, they won't hesitate to strike." As if on cue, the communication panel beeped loudly, signaling an incoming transmission. Garcia was quick to respond. "Captain, we have a response from the Krylaxi command." "Put it through," Elias ordered, stepping closer to the main view screen. The image flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of a Krylaxi commander. His features were harsh, typical of his reptilian species, and his eyes glinted coldly. "Captain Holt," the Krylaxi hissed, his voice distorted by the translator. "Your threats are as empty as the void. We do not recognize your claims. This will be your only warning." Elias's jaw tightened. "This is no mere claim, Commander Slar. It's an ultimatum. Withdraw your forces from human territories immediately, or face total military engagement." Commander Slar bared his sharp teeth in what might have been a grin. "We shall see, human. We shall see how prepared you truly are." The screen went dark as the transmission ended abruptly. The room was charged with tense silence. Elias turned to his team, his expression resolute. "You heard them. They think we're not ready. I say we show them exactly how wrong they are. Raj, coordinate with Admiral Kyung on the defensive line. Garcia, keep scanning for any movements towards our colonies." "Yes, sir," they responded in unison. Elias paused, surveying his crew. "We've trained for this. We know what's at stake. It's not just about defending our homes, it's about securing our future. Let's ensure that future begins today." With a nod from Patel and an affirmative from Garcia, the crew sprang into action, each member efficiently carrying out their duties. Elias watched them for a moment, proud of their professionalism, before returning to his own console to strategize. The war with the Krylaxi wasn't something they wanted, but it was something they had to win. And Elias Holt was not planning to lose. The frigid darkness of space around Titan was abruptly lit by the eerie glow of plasma cannons as the Krylaxi fleet launched their surprise assault. Alarms blared through the corridors of the USS Defender, and Captain Elias Holt was already on the move, racing towards the bridge. "Report," Elias barked as he entered. The bridge crew was a flurry of activity, each officer focused intently on their screens. "Sir, we've detected multiple warp signatures around Titan. The Krylaxi didn't waste any time. They're attacking the mining colonies," reported Lieutenant Jacobs, the ship's sensor officer. "Damage status?" Elias asked, clenching his fists behind his back. "Minimal so far, sir. Our orbital defenses caught them off guard, but we won't hold long without reinforcements," responded Commander Patel, who was coordinating the defense efforts. Elias nodded sharply. "Signal the fleet. Full engagement protocol. We push them back at all costs." The crew worked with practiced efficiency, sending out commands to the rest of the fleet. On the main view screen, the chaotic ballet of war unfolded. Human ships darted through the void, their gun batteries unleashing volleys of fire at the encroaching alien vessels. "Captain, the Krylaxi are concentrating their fire on our supply depots. They're trying to cripple our logistics," Patel updated, his voice steady despite the grim news. Elias's eyes hardened. "Divert the 4th Squadron to intercept. We can't let them cut off our supply lines. How are our ground forces holding up?" "They've engaged the enemy on the surface, but they're outnumbered. They need air support," Garcia interjected, her voice tense. "Authorize the deployment of fighter drones. Target the main Krylaxi clusters. Let's give our troops some breathing room," Elias commanded, turning to face the tactical display. As the battle raged, Elias remained a pillar of calm in the storm. His mind raced through tactics and contingencies, each decision critical to the survival of not just his crew, but the entire colony. Suddenly, a new blip appeared on the screen, moving at high velocity towards the main fleet. Incoming object, high velocity, it's massive, shouted Jacobs. All eyes on that object. Is it a missile? Elias asked, stepping closer to the display. It's not a missile, sir. It's a ship, a Crylaxi dreadnought, much larger than anything we've seen before, Jacobs clarified, his voice laced with disbelief. Focus all fire on that dreadnought. If that beast breaks through, it's over for Titan, Elias stated grimly. Patel, coordinate with the Admiral. We need a focused strike, not a scattered effort. As the dreadnought loomed closer, its cannons began to charge, casting an ominous glow through space. The USS Defender and her sister ships aligned, forming a blockade in an attempt to halt the monstrous ship's advance. Captain, direct hit on sectors 4 through 9. Our shields are holding, but they won't last against another volley like that, reported the engineering officer. Elias glanced at the crew, his resolve unwavering. Hold steady. Prepare for my command. We'll fire on my mark. The bridge crew tensed, waiting for the critical moment. As the dreadnought aligned its cannons once more, Elias watched, calculating the perfect moment. Now! He yelled. The Defender and her allies unleashed everything they had. The combined firepower struck the dreadnought, rocking it violently. For a moment, the alien ship faltered, its return fire delayed. Did we do it? Garcia asked, hope flickering in her voice. Elias kept his eyes on the screen. Stay on it. Keep firing. The relentless barrage continued until finally the dreadnought began to show signs of catastrophic damage. With a final defiant roar, the massive ship exploded, casting a brilliant light across the battlefield. As the light from the explosion faded, Elias allowed himself a brief sigh of relief. Status? We've pushed them back, Captain. The Crylaxi are retreating, Patel exclaimed. Elias nodded, his gaze still fixed on the stars. Keep the pressure. This battle may be over, but the war has just begun. We must prepare for what comes next. After the fierce battle at Titan, the mood aboard the USS Defender was cautiously optimistic. However, Captain Elias Holt knew the war was far from over. He convened a meeting with his top officers in the strategy room to discuss the next steps. Listen up, Elias began, his voice commanding the room's attention as he pointed to the holographic star map hovering above the table. The Crylaxi retreat gives us a brief advantage. We need to exploit this. I propose a covert operation on their controlled planet, Lithor. We gather intel, sabotage their war efforts, and if possible, take out any high-value targets. Commander Patel looked thoughtful. It's risky, Captain. Lithor is deep in Crylaxi territory. What's our insertion strategy? Elias turned to his special operations leader, Major Samuels, a grizzled veteran known for his strategic ingenuity. Major, your thoughts? Major Samuels adjusted his uniform before speaking. We use the stealth corvettes. Get in quick, deploy ground teams, hit their infrastructure and exfil before they know what hit them. Minimal engagement, maximum effect. Stealth and speed will be crucial, Elias agreed. We'll need to keep this quiet. No large fleet movements, just enough support to get our teams in and out. Garcia, who had been monitoring communications, chimed in. Sir, there's been increased chatter about a new type of weapon the Crylaxi are developing. It might be in the early stages, but if we can get details on it, or even better, destroy it. That's a priority, Elias affirmed. If we can take out that weapon, it could shift the entire war in our favor. Preparations were swift and secretive. Within hours, the Defender released 2 stealth corvettes into the blackness of space, making a silent beeline towards Lithor. Elias wasn't just overseeing the operation from the ship. He was leading one of the ground teams. The corvettes landed undetected on the outskirts of a Crylaxi industrial complex. Night vision engaged, Elias and his team moved through the alien terrain, a barren landscape lit only by the distant glow of the complex. Patel, staying aboard the corvette, coordinated the teams. Captain, you're approaching the first checkpoint. Thermal scans show minimal guard presence. You should have a clear path to the main facility. Understood, Elias whispered into his comms, signaling his team to advance. They bypassed Crylaxi patrols, using the alien architecture as cover. Reaching the facility, they planted charges and gathered data from their systems. Suddenly, alarms blared, tripped by an unseen failsafe. Time to go, Elias ordered, and the team made a rapid withdrawal. Explosions rocked the complex behind them as they raced back to the extraction point. Crylaxi forces were now on high alert, searching for the intruders. Elias and his team dodged patrols, returning fire only when necessary. It was a tense, harrowing escape, but the stealth corvettes lifted off just as Crylaxi reinforcements arrived. Back on the Defender, the team debriefed. The data they'd retrieved was invaluable, detailing the new weapon's capabilities and its weaknesses. Moreover, the destruction they had caused would set back the Krylaxi war machine significantly. Elias stood before his crew, pride and relief evident in his expression. "You all performed exceptionally today. We've dealt a significant blow to the Krylaxi, but stay sharp. This war is just heating up, and they won't take this attack lightly. We must stay one step ahead." As the Defender set course back to friendly space, Elias looked out at the stars, his resolve strengthened. They had won a crucial victory, but the path ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty. Yet for now, they had hope, a plan that might just lead to peace. The aftermath of the successful covert operation on Lithor had left the Krylaxi reeling, but Captain Elias Holt knew that the war was far from won. As the USS Defender cruised through the silent expanse of space, Elias convened a strategy session with his senior officers to plan their next move. "We've struck a significant blow," Elias began, reviewing the latest reports on the holographic display. "But a single victory doesn't win a war. We need to consolidate our gains and prepare for the Krylaxi's response. They'll be eager to retaliate." Commander Patel nodded in agreement. "We've received communications from several other human colonies. They're feeling the pressure from Krylaxi forces and are requesting support. There's a real opportunity here to unite these colonies under a common cause." Elias pondered the suggestion. "It's a good strategy. Unity has always been our strength. Raj, set up a conference call with the leaders of these colonies. It's time we present a united front." The video conference was a tableau of strained but determined faces, representatives from a dozen worlds, each bearing the burden of war. Elias addressed them with a calm authority. "We've all felt the sting of Krylaxi aggression. Alone, we are isolated targets. Together, we can form an alliance strong enough to push them back and end their threat once and for all." One by one, the leaders voiced their support. Though some expressed concerns about resources and logistics, the overall consensus was clear. They would stand together. They agreed to share intelligence, coordinate defenses, and support each other's offensives. With the alliance taking shape, Elias turned his attention to strengthening their military capabilities. "We need to bolster our fleet. Any surplus ships and resources from your colonies will be crucial," he told the assembly. As plans were set into motion, Lieutenant Garcia approached Elias with an update. "Sir, we've intercepted a transmission. The Krylaxi are amassing a large force near the Nebula sector. It looks like they're planning a major offensive." Elias's eyes narrowed. "That's near the Draco colony. They're not equipped to handle an attack of that scale. We must act fast." "Captain, should we deploy our forces?" Patel asked, ready to relay orders. "Yes, but let's also send a diplomatic envoy to the Krylaxi. Perhaps we can still avoid a full-scale conflict," Elias suggested, knowing that every option must be explored. The fleet, now augmented with ships from the newly formed alliance, moved towards the Nebula sector. Meanwhile, Elias personally led the envoy to negotiate with the Krylaxi. The meeting, held on a neutral space station, was tense. The Krylaxi were skeptical of human intentions, but agreed to hear Elias out. "We have no desire to continue this conflict," Elias stated firmly, facing the Krylaxi delegates across the negotiation table. "But make no mistake, we will defend ourselves and our allies. I propose a ceasefire, a chance for both our peoples to find peace." The Krylaxi, their scales shimmering in the dim light, murmured among themselves. After a tense pause, they replied, "Your words carry weight, human. We will consider your proposal." As Elias returned to his ship, he felt a cautious optimism. The alliance was growing stronger, and there was a chance for diplomacy. But as the stars streaked past, he remained vigilant, aware that the road to peace was fraught with uncertainty. He knew the true test of their unity and resolve was just on the horizon. The war had reached a pivotal moment. With the fledgling alliance growing stronger and more coordinated, Captain Elias Holt knew the time to strike was now. The USS Defender and its allied fleet amassed near the edge of the Nebula sector, preparing for what would be one of the largest offensive operations against the Krylaxi forces. On the bridge of the Defender, Elias reviewed the battle plans with his senior staff. "This assault isn't just about territory, it's about sending a message. We need a decisive victory here to undermine the Krylaxi's resolve and show our strength," he explained. Commander Patel adjusted the holographic display to show the enemy positions. "Our intel suggests the Krylaxi command center is located here, on the planet Xyleron. It's heavily fortified, but its capture would severely cripple their operational capabilities. Elias nodded, his gaze fixed on the glowing point representing Xyleron. That's our target. We take the command center. Prepare all squads for a full-scale deployment. I want ground forces ready to move as soon as we secure orbit. As the fleet maneuvered into position, the tension among the crew was palpable. Lieutenant Garcia relayed the latest communications from the Alliance. All units are in position, Captain. We have green lights across the board. Very well, Elias responded, taking a deep breath. Begin the assault. Space around Xyleron erupted into chaos as the battle commenced. The Allied fleet unleashed a barrage of firepower, breaking through the Krylaxi defenses to clear a path for the ground troops. Elias watched from the bridge, issuing commands and adjusting strategies in real time. The initial skirmishes were brutal. The Krylaxi fought with a desperate ferocity, but the unified human forces, buoyed by their shared cause, slowly gained ground. Major Samuels, leading the ground assault, reported in amidst the chaos. We've landed on Xyleron, engaging enemy forces at the outer defenses. Copy that, Major. Keep pushing forward. Air support is on the way, Elias replied, coordinating the next phase of the operation. Hours turned into a day as the battle raged on both in orbit and on the ground. Slowly, the tide began to turn in favor of the humans. The Alliance's superior tactics and the element of surprise resulted in significant advances. Finally, a breakthrough came. Captain, we've breached the command center. Major Samuel's voice crackled over the comm. Engaging the enemy command staff. Secure the center at all costs, Elias instructed, knowing the importance of this victory. With the command center captured, the remaining Krylaxi forces began to retreat. Elias allowed himself a moment of relief, but his satisfaction was tempered by the cost. The deck was busy with reports of casualties and damage. In the aftermath of the battle, Elias convened with the leaders of the Alliance via a secure channel. Faces weary but resolute appeared before him, sharing their losses and victories. We've achieved a critical victory today, Elias addressed the group. This success must be a stepping stone. We consolidate, we rebuild, and we prepare for the Krylaxi's next move. As discussions of future strategies ensued, Elias felt a cautious optimism. They had won a great battle, but the war was not yet over. He knew the Krylaxi would regroup and retaliate. However, this victory had proven the strength of their alliance, and for the first time, peace seemed within reach. Elias was determined to see this through, to secure a future where humanity no longer lived under the shadow of war. The victory on Xyleron had given humanity a much-needed boost, but intelligence reports indicated that the Krylaxi were not retreating. They were regrouping. Deep within Krylaxi territory, a superweapon was being developed, a doomsday device that could turn the tide of the war. Captain Elias Holt knew that their next mission would be their most dangerous yet, infiltrating the heart of the Krylaxi stronghold to destroy the weapon. Elias and his team prepared meticulously. The USS Defender carried them as close as possible to the planet Kareth, where the superweapon was housed, before deploying a specially modified stealth shuttle. Major Samuels, Lieutenant Garcia, and Commander Patel joined Elias on this perilous mission. The shuttle cut through the blackness of space, its cloaking device rendering it nearly invisible. As they approached the planet's surface, the tension was palpable. Elias checked his gear, making sure everything was in order. Everyone knows the plan. We get in, plant the charges, and get out. No heroics. Understood. Understood, Captain, the team responded in unison. They landed undetected in a desolate area, using the rugged terrain for cover as they made their way to the Krylaxi facility. The landscape was harsh and alien, with jagged rocks and strange, luminescent flora casting eerie shadows. Patel used a handheld device to scan for security systems. Minimal patrols in this sector, but heavy surveillance near the facility entrance. Let's move, Elias ordered, leading the team through the shadows. They approached the facility, a massive structure of dark, imposing architecture. The entrance was guarded by several Krylaxi soldiers. Distraction or stealth? Samuels whispered. Stealth, Elias decided. We can't afford to alert them. Garcia hacked into the facility's security system, temporarily disabling the cameras and sensors. The team slipped past the guards and entered the facility. Inside, the air was thick with tension. The corridors were dimly lit, the silence broken only by the distant hum of machinery. Elias led them towards the core of the facility, where the superweapon was being constructed. They encountered minimal resistance, but the presence of high-tech security systems indicated they were getting closer. Garcia paused to bypass a particularly complex lock, her fingers dancing over the console. "We're in," she whispered, the door sliding open to reveal the central chamber. The superweapon loomed before them, an immense construct of alien engineering. It pulsed with an ominous energy, its destructive potential palpable. Elias signaled the team to spread out and plant the charges. As they worked, an alarm suddenly blared. "We've been detected," Patel shouted. Kralaxi soldiers poured into the chamber, weapons drawn. "Hold them off," Elias ordered, taking cover and returning fire. The chamber erupted into chaos, the sound of gunfire and explosions filling the air. Elias fought with precision, his focus unyielding. Samuels provided cover fire while Garcia and Patel continued setting the charges. The Kralaxi were relentless, but the team held their ground, each member executing their role flawlessly. "Charges are set," Garcia shouted over the din. "Fall back," Elias commanded. The team began a strategic retreat, laying down suppressive fire as they moved. They raced through the facility, the charges ticking down. Outside, the shuttle awaited, engines primed for a quick escape. The team sprinted towards it, the ground shaking as the first explosions rocked the facility. They boarded the shuttle, just as a massive detonation tore through the complex, flames and debris spewing into the sky. The shuttle lifted off, the shockwave from the explosion propelling them forward. Elias and his team watched as the Kralaxi facility was consumed by fire, the superweapon destroyed. Back on the USS Defender, Elias convened with his team. "We did it. The Kralaxi's greatest threat is no more." Samuels nodded, his expression weary but satisfied. "But they won't take this lightly. They'll come after us with everything they have." Elias gazed out at the stars, his resolve steeled. "Let them come. We've shown we can strike at their heart. Now we prepare for the final phase. We'll finish this war and ensure a future for humanity." As the crew set about their tasks, the gravity of their achievement settled in. They had ventured into the heart of darkness and emerged victorious. The road ahead was still fraught with peril, but Elias was determined to see it through to the end. The fate of humanity depended on it. The destruction of the Kralaxi superweapon had given humanity a glimmer of hope, but Captain Elias Holt knew the Kralaxi would not let this affront go unanswered. As the USS Defender sailed through space, the crew braced themselves for the inevitable retaliation. Elias stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the stars. "Status report," he requested, his voice calm but firm. Lieutenant Garcia, her fingers flying over the console, responded. "We've detected multiple Kralaxi fleets mobilizing. They're converging on our position. It's an all-out assault." Commander Patel adjusted his glasses, analyzing the tactical data. "We're outnumbered, but we have the advantage of terrain. If we can lure them into the asteroid field nearby, we might be able to even the odds." Elias nodded. "Good plan, Raj. Relay coordinates to the fleet. We'll use the asteroids for cover and force the Kralaxi into close-quarters combat. Ready all hands for battle." The crew moved with practiced efficiency, preparing for the impending clash. The Allied ships, now a cohesive unit, formed up around the Defender, ready to follow Elias's lead. The Kralaxi fleets arrived in a terrifying display of power, their ships dark and menacing. The Defender and her allies maneuvered into the asteroid field, using the massive floating rocks to shield themselves from the initial onslaught. "Engage at will!" Elias commanded, and the space around them erupted into a maelstrom of laser fire and explosions. The asteroids provided cover, but the battle was fierce. Kralaxi's ships darted between the rocks, their weapons blazing. Major Samuels led the ground forces from one of the smaller vessels, coordinating boarding parties to strike Kralaxi ships caught in the asteroid field. "We've breached several enemy vessels, Captain. They're struggling to maintain formation." "Good work, Major. Keep up the pressure," Elias replied, firing the Defender's main cannons at an approaching Kralaxi cruiser. The alien ship exploded in a fiery burst, debris scattering through space. Despite their strategic advantage, the battle took its toll. Reports of casualties and damage poured in, each one a heavy weight on Elias's shoulders. "Damage status?" he asked, knowing the answer would not be good. "Shields are at 30% and we've lost 3 Allied ships," Patel reported grimly. "We're holding, but barely." Elias gritted his teeth. "We can't sustain this much longer. We need to hit their command ship. If we take it out, we might break their resolve." "Captain, the Kralaxi command ship is heavily guarded. It's a suicide mission," Garcia warned. "I know," Elias replied, determination in his eyes. "But it's our best shot. Prepare a strike team. I'll lead it myself." Captain, you can't, Patel protested. You're too valuable here. Elias looked at his friend and first officer. This is bigger than any one of us, Raj. We need to end this, and I'm not asking anyone to do what I wouldn't. You have the bridge. Reluctantly, Patel nodded. Understood. Good luck, Elias. Elias assembled a team and boarded a shuttle. They navigated through the chaos, dodging enemy fire, and approached the Krylaxi command ship. The shuttle shook violently as it docked, and Elias led the charge into the heart of the enemy vessel. The interior of the Krylaxi ship was a labyrinth of harsh metal and hostile forces. Elias and his team fought their way through, each step a brutal struggle. They reached the command center where the Krylaxi commander waited. Elias faced the towering alien, his pulse steady. This ends now, he declared, raising his weapon. The Krylaxi commander sneered, drawing a blade. You'll die here, human. The ensuing battle was fierce and personal. Blades clashed and plasma bolts flew. Elias fought with every ounce of strength, fueled by the knowledge that humanity's fate hung in the balance. Finally, with a decisive move, he struck down the Krylaxi commander. We've done it, one of his team members shouted as they planted charges around the command center. Get to the shuttle, Elias ordered. They raced back, the charges ticking down. The shuttle launched just as the Krylaxi command ship exploded, the shockwave propelling them into the safety of Allied space. Back on the Defender, Elias was greeted with cheers and relief. Patel stood by his side, a rare smile on his face. We've won, Elias. They're retreating. Elias nodded, exhaustion evident but tempered by triumph. We've survived this day, but the war isn't over. Let's make sure every loss counted. We keep pushing until the Krylaxi threat is no more. The crew of the Defender, bruised but unbroken, set about their tasks with renewed determination. They had faced the heart of darkness and emerged victorious, but Elias knew the final chapter of their struggle was yet to be written. For now, they savored their survival, ready for whatever came next. The Krylaxi forces were in retreat, their command structure shattered by Captain Elias Holt's daring assault. The war was over, and humanity had prevailed. As the USS Defender journeyed back to Earth, a sense of solemnity permeated the ship. The cost had been high, but the future finally seemed bright. Elias stood alone on the observation deck, watching the stars. The weight of command had aged him beyond his years, but his eyes still held a spark of hope. Earth's space, once a battlefield, now promised peace. Commander Patel joined him, his voice breaking the silence. We've received confirmation, Captain. The Krylaxi have agreed to a peace treaty. They're withdrawing from all human territories. Elias nodded slowly. It's finally over, then. Yes, sir. When we land, the United Nations wants to hold a ceremony. You're to give a speech. Hero of the hour, Patel said, offering Elias a half-smile. Elias shook his head, a rueful grin on his face. I don't feel much like a hero, Raj. Too many good people didn't make it back. I know, but your actions gave us a future. That's worth celebrating, Patel replied, clapping Elias on the shoulder. The return to Earth was met with jubilation. Crowds gathered to welcome the Defender and her crew. Amidst the celebration, Elias prepared for his speech, reflecting on the words that might capture the sacrifice and the triumph. Standing at the podium, Elias looked out over the sea of faces, civilians and soldiers alike. He cleared his throat, his voice amplifying across the gathering. Today we stand at the dawn of a new era. We have faced darkness together and emerged stronger. This victory was not won by a single person, ship, or nation. It was won by the courage of every man and woman who dared to stand against tyranny. He paused, letting his words sink in. We remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Their legacy is not marked by the battles they fought, but by the peace they secured. As Elias spoke, the crowd listened, moved by his humility and leadership. He continued, Our challenge now is to build on the peace we've won. Let us forge a future where our children know only harmony among the stars, a future they can be proud to inherit. The speech was met with thunderous applause. Elias stepped down, feeling the weight of his role shifting, from warrior to peacemaker. In the days that followed, Elias worked closely with Earth's leaders and former enemy representatives to establish a lasting peace. Treaties were signed, and borders were redrawn, ensuring that the Krylaxi and humans could coexist peacefully. One evening, as the sun set over the horizon, Elias met with Major Samuels and Lieutenant Garcia at a memorial for the fallen. They stood in silence, each lost in their thoughts but united in their resolve. Garcia broke the silence. What will you do now, Captain, now that it's over? Elias looked out over the memorial, his eyes reflecting the sunset. I think I'll retire from the service, spend some time on Earth, maybe write a book about what we've learned. We've got a chance to start anew, and I want to be part of that, in a quieter way. Samuels nodded, clapping Elias on the back. You've earned that much, sir. We all have. As they left the memorial, the sky turned a brilliant shade of twilight, stars twinkling into existence. The war was behind them, but the journey ahead was full of possibility. For Elias and humanity, it was a chance to rebuild, to learn from the past and create a future defined not by conflict, but by the promise of peace. The new dawn was not just an end to war, but the beginning of hope,